Welcome to Conversate, our podcast where we engage in conversation. And on this week's episode, Aaron and Kevin are talking about the fact that Jesus makes us, that we're made. We're made by a creator. Therefore, our creator has also made purpose for us, a reason for living. And so in this conversation, that's what we're going to be talking about in some real practical ways of seeing how that is and can be transformative for you in your life as you think about the places that Jesus is leading you. As always, it's our goal in this conversation that you'll take something you hear and start another faithful conversation with somebody else. As always, we hope you enjoy it. Kevin.
What's up, Aaron? Hey, you got your deer mug back.
I do. It was intentional. Because last week when you clinked me, that was too much.
It was dangerous.
It was dangerous.
Almost cascaded.
I know.
Yeah.
So I got the bonus schnozzle. That's really helpful.
Do you ever talk to your mug in the form of a letter?
No. But I did. We're going to transition right away to the sermon. I did think about this mug was almost a sermon illustration this last week.
Because you made it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you did.
And it's precious.
At the Magic Kiln.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's your deer mug.
It is my deer mug.
Dear mug, I love you. Aaron.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Yeah. You honed in for yourself in the sermon on like food preparation, cooking.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like to cook?
I do. I just went there because I was like, I don't know if I've ever said that out loud.
Mm-hmm.
So
even to yourself?
Even to myself.
Oh, man.
And now I've admitted it at home. And
now you're going to cook 5 days a week?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. You're
Abby has relinquished all responsibility for food. She's like, you declared it publicly. You need to live up to it.
Yeah, facts, accountability.
She didn't say that. But I will be going on sabbatical, and so I think there will be. I mean, I cook quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But
you mentioned that to me. I don't think it was on the podcast necessarily, but I think you said like particularly when you guys are in like travel mode, like the whole family almost like cooperates or participates more.
Yeah.
In the cooking.
Yeah.
Business, cooking, cleaning, kitchen duty.
In general at home. We're getting there.
We're still trying to sit at the table. Not have balls flying around.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah, we've got some routines for cleanup and dish doing, and it's a nice spot to get to.
Mm-hmm. I dream of it. I dream of it.
You'll be there soon enough.
Oh yeah, that's what everyone tells me. So you like cooking? Yeah. You like this mug that you made? Mm-hmm. What are some other things you made that you like?
I like music, so I do like to make music. And even at home, we'll do. I teach kids piano lessons and stuff, and so we've got a piano at home. And I don't sit down and play it every day, but I'll sit down at random times and just improvise. Mm-hmm. So
jam.
Yeah. So I like to just have, I don't know. And I don't know how it works. If you're not musical,
sure.
To think about sitting down at a piano and just making up a song and playing something that sounds decent. I could explain it to you, but I don't know.
Well, it'd be the same as in my mind as like someone who's like good listening right now and is good at woodworking. Yeah, they could explain it to me.
It doesn't mean you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. But I appreciate when I see the product that someone has made or listen to the product. Yeah, I resonate more with the music making. I like to jam as well.
Yeah. But I definitely personally I prefer that over fixing things or even like following directions to put other stuff together. So like we just got this like children's bike seat for Ari so that he can ride on my mountain bike with me as we go on sabbatical, but then also just in general, our other kids are old enough and they've got mountain bikes, and Abby's got a bike, and it's like, oh man, we all want to go together. And we actually just yesterday we were able to went on the trail for the first time, and it was just so fun. Everybody had so much fun, and it was a good investment. But I had to put the thing together, and it really wasn't hard, and I'm fine. I'm not like aloof at that stuff, but it's not. I don't enjoy it.
Like putting together something that
where I have to like follow somebody's instructions.
Like it's not your creation. It's already a sort of a created thing. You're just assembling it.
Yeah.
Not your thing.
No,
I kind of like that.
I like that. I like the end product, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm not a super into the details type person. It was kind of funny on this though. Like there was one piece of, or it was one of the pieces in the bike seat had a tag on it, and it said, "We know that directions can be boring, but you really need to start at step 1. Don't like something like that. Don't just take this and start doing it. Like you got to do it in order." And I was like, that might have been for me. I don't know.
That's not on every product. I
was like, out of respect for me that you did that, I actually enjoy this a little bit more than the average thing I have to put together.
I feel seen.
Yeah, they even put stickers in the box.
That's really funny.
So, yeah, but that, and then also like fixing things that are broken. I don't know. I'm okay with like taking a stab at something, but if like my first like attempt or two doesn't go, I don't know. I get frustrated and kind of flustered, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't know. Some people like just love fixing stuff and rehabbing, and like that's an incredible gift that people have. I guess I just would rather start from nothing or not nothing. I mean, I'm not God, but
but like not have something that's already built that you're souping up or changing mildly or something.
And I mean, I can do those things, but in terms of like what's actually like joyous that I actually like doing, it's the creative stuff. So
there is something I think, and you said in your sermon too, I think, but like we tend to value the things that we make more than things that are given to us or handed to us, or
I think so. I mean, and I think
it's fair.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
But obviously there are certain things that have been like given to me,
or things precious,
or things that are expensive that I've purchased that are like, we're going to take care of that thing, but
so it's like another,
but there's a different level of attachment to something that you make. I think that's the point. Like it may not be more, you may not like
get as much for it at the yard sale.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. Yeah, exactly. It's like a sentimental as opposed to, like we're talking about value categories. Yeah. It's like some things that might be valuable, like just sheerly on the price of the thing. It's like, like we'll treat this a certain way because of this. And some things might be valuable for like it could be because of the person who gave it to you.
Yeah.
But then there's a certain special kind of value for things that you generate or that you make.
Yeah.
There's a board game that I made when I was in middle school.
Yeah.
It sits in my basement.
Oh, yeah?
It's pretty awkward. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Oh.
No, I love that game. Back in the day, we used to play it like at school. Like
the one you made?
Yeah, like especially my friend Doug Swanson, a grade school pal of mine. It was loosely based on all sorts of stuff. The game of life, mixed with Mario Kart and also Zelda.
Dude, nice.
Dude, I'll leave it at that. That's making it sound probably cooler than it is.
My kids just made not to take away from what you're saying, but they made a Minecraft Lego board game.
Ooh.
So they haven't invited me to play yet.
Is it physical or digital?
It's physical.
Okay, because I also saw that your brother posted a Minecraft thing. Did you see that recently, or did he share it? That was really cool too.
No, but they have Lego. They have some like
Minecraft themed Legos.
Yeah.
Got it.
So they just use the Lego guys and move them around a board, and there's cards they draw.
Did they create the cards themselves too? Then?
Yeah. They're like different powers and values.
Yes. I'm geeking out a little bit.
Yeah,
I like board games.
Yeah. So, let's play it with them. I don't know how. They haven't invited me to play yet. And then they started explaining the rules, and I was like,
I was gonna say they got to get really good at it first, and then they'll invite you.
Yeah,
we're ready for you.
I mean, it looks impressive. There's a lot of detail to it. So,
are they? Is it like a thing right now that they're kind of protective of, like in terms of like, again, like valuing it or like caring for, watching over, or is it kind of just like?
I'm not sure. It lays on the floor.
Okay. Which, as a child, that doesn't necessarily, because I remember my parents would say, "We're coming down in 5 minutes, and anything left on the floor, is gone." And then all the things that were on the floor, all of a sudden, were worth lots. In my mind, I can't lose this. But yeah,
So do you? So you made the board game. I mean, did you resonate with that idea of like creative? Do you consider yourself? Do you like to make stuff? Or?
So I would say that, like, at least based on your kind of like sharing, that we definitely differ in terms of I like directions with things that I'm building, mostly because I feel incompetent at building things. Okay. So I prefer to have direction in that. But I do think there's something, and part of me would wonder if it's universal in terms of like humanity's desire or pleasure in creating things, and there's different ways we do it, whether it's making music, making wood projects, making board games, making people,
right?
But like our God's a creator, and we're made in his image, and I think that's got to be some piece of that.
Oh yeah,
because it just seems universal. Like people love to make up stuff,
right? Well, that was the thing that he gave to Adam and Eve, especially when it comes to children. I mean, that was their command to be fruitful and multiply. Like, make some more people.
Yeah, right.
So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't normally, like, even in my conversations with like my wife, I tend not to consider myself a creative person, but then she'll like correct me or challenge that thought, because sometimes I limit creativity to like someone who paints or something like that. I am not skilled in an artistic way like that. But yeah, I like to create songs, beats. Yeah. I like to create parodies of things. Yeah. So like in the styling of Weird Al Yankovic. Yeah. Sing about my life. So yeah, I like to create stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So the point of the sermon, as we're tracking these words of Jesus, follow me and I will make you become fishers of men, was really to get to that point of, if we look at these first two verbs, the follow on, it's a command. It's a command where Jesus to the disciples, come and get with me close, like closely relationally be with me. But then the next verb is, who does the making? It's very clear. Jesus says, I will make you. It's not you will make you. It's not you will do this. It's just follow me, and then something's going to happen. I'm going to make you. We've still got to finish the sentence. That's next week. But I just wanted to get to that point of like, Jesus is the one, our God is the one that has the making capacity. He's the one who does it. He's the one who brings us into existence. He's the one who brings us into new life. He's the one who creates our worth, our value, our purpose, our direction. He's our maker.
Yeah, it might be interesting. Just as you're saying that, I'm thinking about, I think there's probably a fair amount of people in the world today, in our culture, that would they would challenge that idea, right? But even like this idea of like the point of our lives is like we make meaning in our lives. I feel like I hear that idea, right? So it's like, everything's relativistic. It's kind of choose whatever you want to do and, go and find your thing, like go and make meaning in your life. Like how would you interact or engage with that sort of an idea, like from a biblical standpoint? Like, does that idea have any merit, do you think? Or,
I think from our human experience level, it does. We just had a whole conversation about the fact that we make stuff. So we do stuff, but the thing that's different is that anything that we make, the elements that we use to make stuff have already been made for us. So it's on a grand scale. I kind of like taking the conversation to the place of like we've had this conversation I think numerous times on this podcast, but your dependence. You are not a self-contained individual. You are dependent on something bigger than you.
Yeah. Well, you even asked it in the sermon, right? Like, have you asked us if we'd considered the fact that we didn't choose to be here,
right?
Like we're dependent even in the beginning of our lives. Yeah.
And so it's just that. It's just that conversation. It's like, well, all right, I can acknowledge that. I mean, like working hard, creating a life, using the wisdom and the skills and the body and the mind and everything that God's given to you to contribute to society, those are all wonderful and good things to do. The point is though, like, ultimately, we're talking like, oh, what's your ultimate purpose in life, right? What's your ultimate goal in life,
right?
Is it just? And I guess I do mean just. Is it just to be, a good worker? Is it just to, have a good career and make some money and leave a lasting legacy for yourself? Or is there even more to life than that? And that's where I think like this call, this command of Jesus, like, follow me and I'll make you. Like, I really do believe, I said it in the sermon. I said, your purpose in life is really to be a follower of Jesus. We use other terms in Christianity. We'll talk about like the fact that your purpose is to be or your identity is rooted in the fact that you're a child of God, right? Like this is what we're saying. Like God is your creator. You are his creation. You've been made by him. He's created good works for you even to do in advance of you doing those good works. I think for anybody that's trying to make a way for themselves, make a name for themselves, or create purpose or value for themselves, eventually they're never really gonna get there. I just think it's kind of a vain pursuit.
Well, go ahead.
And you can feel like you're maybe getting somewhere, but you're never there, and so you just kind of keep searching,
or telling yourself that you're there.
Yeah,
like that's my head was kind of headed that direction in terms of a question to ask, like if someone sort of responded or refuted even the idea that the meaning of my life is all God given, it's all for his purpose, and they said, well, no, I feel like I make meaning in my existence, and here are the things that are meaningful to me, and this is why I live. That, maybe the question would be something on the level of like, well, I guess it'd be specific to a person, but like if they could flesh what that vision of their life was, and then whether they were living into it, like whether it was fulfilling them. Because part of what Jesus says, right, is I have come to give you life, but not just any life, not just a mediocre life or a simple life, but life to the full, like in abundance. And at least as I hear you talking, I hear almost like two, I'm making concentric circles with my hands right now if you're listening. So like there's a smaller world and then a larger world. And the smaller world is kind of like, even when you say like leave a lasting legacy, like what does that even mean? Like, do I know my great-great-grandfather? No.
All right.
So you can think that you're going to leave a lasting legacy, but how long is it going to last?
Your kids are probably going to blow it in 12 months,
Exactly. Like seriously.
That's actually statistically true.
Is that really?
Oh,
in terms of like inheritance.
Well, all right, I'm making up numbers.
Hey, 70% of statistics are made up. So
a lot. If you leave your kids, a lump sum when you die.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's the majority. I think so, but a lot of people just blow it. That's the point.
And it checks out when you think of other. So like I know like game show winners, that sort of story happens in terms of like NFL players or like sports careers where they make this just gargantuan amount of money, and then they retire, and then all this 5 years later they're bankrupt, and it's like, how is that even humanly possible, right? So like given those things, it kind of makes sense. We're not all that good at managing things, I guess. But yeah, so it's like you can try to make meaning, if you want to use that language, make meaning in your life. And there are things that are meaningful. But I think part of what the Christian vision gives us is not just a larger vision, but also the understanding or the reason why it's a larger vision, right? Because if I believe in an eternity, then even my conversations here in my life can have eternal ramifications.
Absolutely.
And that's a legacy, Or if I think of the relationships I have, I mean, part of the beauty of the Christian vision of eternity is that it's not just some ethereal, floaty space thing that I am personally enjoying in some sort of disembodied way, but we actually believe that you will be you, I will be me. My family will be my family. Like I will know and get to relate and spend more time and just enjoy each other, and that's something that is bigger, at least in an eternal sense, than maybe the small vision of if I'm trying to make my own meaning. Yeah. So Jesus comes in and he's sort of blowing up our worlds a little bit. Certainly was for those guys, the fishermen. Hey?
Yeah. Well, that was the thing is that. And the point of this sermon series is really to look at what it really means to be a disciple of Jesus. So one aspect is the following after him, that relational component. But then as we are relationally with him, our lives just change. They're just different. The form of them changes. I mean, and so this was the point where I wanted to take it, was that like when we journey through the Gospels, and we were reading Mark and Lent. So if you want to just reread Mark, and you see what happens with Jesus and the disciples as they are journeying together for those 3.5 years of Jesus' ministry, what is Jesus doing for them? Well, he's forming them to be his people. And this is consistent with the way that God works with his people throughout history. I think the clearest example is the Israelites wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. That was a time of forming them to be his people with a common vision and understanding and even practices, daily rhythms of living and worship and rest and all of these things. So God puts that all into them. So Jesus' time with his disciples is a time of transforming them from fishermen and tax collectors and to become disciples, even apostles. Then lifelong apostles who go and preach the gospel everywhere. And that's how. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but that's how Mark ends, is that they all went and preached the gospel everywhere, it says.
Oh yeah, we're coming back to the end of Mark.
Yeah,
you gave us that little cliffhanger there on Easter.
So that's what we're gonna do.
Easter, yeah.
And so this idea of like, what does it mean to be like transformed to be a disciple of Jesus? What does that look like in our lives? And I used in the sermon this concept that we talk about of holistic discipleship, of being a disciple holistically, in the head, heart, hands, and habits. So basically, like Jesus's desire for us as followers of his is that he wants to make us these holistic disciples that our whole lives are captured by him and his purpose for us in this world. So I think like, and this is what we see Jesus do with his disciples. So with the head, and I did this kind of quick in my sermon, but like, I mean, Jesus is always teaching, right? I mean, that's one of the things they call him a rabbi. They call him, they call him teacher, right? So he's teaching them all the time, right? Teaching them about the coming kingdom of God, what it looks like when God is in control and is king, right? So he's teaching them constantly. He's putting information into their heads. So we see that Jesus is concerned with what we know. Right? He wants you to know things about him, about his purpose for you, about how the scripture works. Like God wants you to know. But then Jesus also gives them experiences with him, right? Where they're kind of forced to maybe to challenge what they've learned. Like, is this true? Is this something that I actually believe? You know, is it just information that I know about the kingdom of God? Or, oh my goodness, like Jesus just gave sight to a blind man, right? The kingdom of God comes in and casts out these authoritative powers in this world and makes people new. Whoa, you know? I mean, and that's just one example. So that's the heart piece, right? Like Jesus is getting after their heart. So he's teaching them, and then they're getting experiences to follow Jesus closely, relationally, and see, and actually truly believe. And then Jesus gives them stuff to do with their hands, you know? I mean, most clearly as apostles, he sends them out to preach and teach and heal and cast out demons. Eventually with the Great Commission and after his ascension into heaven and the sending of the Spirit, even more so, like they're fully commissioned to go as apostles and do the kingdom work in the world. And then the habits, right? I mean, Jesus models habits for them, whether that be prayer, whether that be rest, but also just like kind of a continual life in pursuit of Jesus, daily dying cross, rising to new life, and living like that. So these disciples, you know, they're being formed in these 3.5 years with Jesus, transformed from just being fishermen to being these kind of fully formed disciples of Jesus. And I think that's what Jesus is after in our lives too. Like, he wants all of you.
So what would that look like, do you think? Like I get the biblical picture, right? You got these disciples, these fishers or tax collectors or others turned apostles, right? So that's like a whole vocational change for them.
Yeah.
Right? And then, you know, they're equipped to go out and preach and teach and cast out demons and things. But I'm guessing for our average listener, right, like the experience is different. Like they can look back and see that that's how Jesus worked and lived and moved with the disciples. But what does it look like for someone like present day? Because I don't think you're saying like, hey, whatever you're doing, like quit it. You need to go, you know, preach, teach, cast out demons. Or, well, I don't know. I should leave it open-ended. What does it look like today? You know, what are some like maybe practical examples or visions of what the transformational life with Jesus looks like?
So I think it's most readily noticeable for people who have had some sort of conversion experience, where you can actually like see like a demarcation line in your life where it was like at one time, you know, I wasn't, you know, and now I am. Like I you know, I wasn't at peace and now I am at peace. I didn't know that I had forgiveness and now I have forgiveness. So there are certain people that like it's that clear. If you've been a Christian your whole life, raised in the church, and you never, I mean, that's pretty much, I mean, that's my experience, pretty much yours, you know. I can't think of a day where I didn't believe in Jesus, you know, like I don't have some demarcation line in my life where it's like, on this day and this moment, you know, this is when I truly became a Christian. You know, I think it's been a constant formation process in my life, and that's my story. So, but I do know in my life that there's been there's been maturation that happens, like a maturing process where I've kind of understood more, I think, what this life of following Jesus truly looks like. And that, I mean, that's what I'm trying to explain. And so I grew up in a Christian house. I grew up like going to church. I grew up believing in Jesus. I grew up going on mission trips, like kind of did the Christian thing. And that was awesome. I mean, without those experiences, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I don't think that and I'm not even saying that those experiences were lacking or less than where I am today. I think it's just all part of the story. But I think I've gotten to a place where I realize that like my life of following Jesus, that's my life. So that's the whole thing. So I have a whole life that follows Jesus. I don't have a life that is my Christian life that happens on Sundays and then some other key moments, and then a different life where I go to work, and a different life when I play sports, and a different life when I hang with friends. That was more of the experience before. And it's not that I rejected Jesus when I went to these other places, but it was like I didn't see how they connected. I see now that my whole life is one of following Jesus, and no matter what I do, like my goal and my aim in life is to follow Jesus and to lead other people into a place of knowing and following Jesus. And I really believe that that's what it means to be a disciple of Jesus. A follower of Jesus means to follow him and lead others to follow him. And you can do that in any career. You can do that in any station in life. You can do that whether you're rich or poor, or wherever you live. Like anybody can do that. Everybody has capacity. I mean, my daughter Phoebe last night before bed, we said prayers, and then she turned to me. She's 6, almost 7, but she said, "So, Dad, when Jesus comes back," I mean, we had just read a book. I mean, it was a book about dragons and
nice
mystery,
Revelation.
Yeah. It had, it has nothing. I mean, we're in a whole other world. We say prayers, and then she does this. You're like, okay, hold on. What are we? Okay. So she says, "Dad, when Jesus comes back, people who believe in him are gonna rise from the dead and get to live with him forever, right?" I said, "Yeah, kiddo, you're right." And she said, "And people who don't believe in him, will they rise from the dead?" I was like, "Well, we believe they'll rise from the dead, but they'll be apart from Jesus forever. Like we get to be with Jesus, they'll be apart from Jesus forever. And all the good things that come in life only come from Jesus. So it's like, I mean, I didn't even need to use the word hell. I just said like it's like there's not going to be nothing good, And then she even asked. She said, "And if people didn't, like, if they didn't know Jesus, or like hadn't ever heard about Jesus, but then we tell them about Jesus, would they be with us?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, anybody who believes in Jesus, And then we just had a brief conversation of this, and I just said, that's why, like, that's why we really care about people. Why we care about people knowing about Jesus and believing him. So whatever friendships we have or relationships, like let's let them know about Jesus, because we want to be with them forever. Like we don't want bad things for people. So That's why we believe in Jesus, you know? So it's even just like trying to impart that to a 6-year-old. And I don't know why she's asking those questions. I mean, so we got some friends that are, you know, aren't part of this church, and I don't know, maybe she wonders, you know? Mm-hmm. So I think I don't know if I'm answering your question or.
Well, yeah. I think, especially when you talked about, because my mind goes to, especially those who, grew up in the church, where a lot of like faith, Christianity is sort of like the backdrop. It's the norm, you know? So they don't have that clear demarcation line of like life before, life now, life after. But when you're talking about various circles or places of your existence, you know, places where you live out your life, it's helpful to not think about them as compartmentalized from your following of Jesus, but that he's a part of all of it. And I think like if we were to get real specific, like a question would be like, okay, so what did it look like? What did it look like when there was, you know, like separation in those areas versus the holistic, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm not saying you don't have to, this doesn't have to be confession time. People can ask you privately as well. But
no, I mean, I answer it. I mean, I wouldn't even say it was like, over here I'm, you know, a horrible sinner, and over here I pretend to be good. It wasn't even that. I think it as I reflect back, and I don't know if you asked me then, but as I reflect back, it was just sort of, I think I wanted to see how the dots connected, but I didn't know. I just couldn't see it. So it just felt like my Christian experience was limited to kind of going to this place or doing these activities. And that was just sort of all I could see. I couldn't see, like, you know, while I'm playing sports, like, what does it mean? You know, what does it mean to be a Christian athlete? Oh, that after I score a touchdown, I point to the sky, or like, you know, you do the Tebow. Is that what it means? You know? Yes. So
no, sorry, you invoked the name of Tebow, so I had to say yes.
Yeah. So, it's easier in like a one-on-one conversation to get to the heart of like what somebody's wrestling with to help them make those connections than for me to speak in broad generalities right now.
Yeah. No, but that's helpful too, even, right? Like, part of it is we're all sort of socially conditioned to say, okay, this is the place. These are the boundary lines where you can talk about the Jesus stuff and you can pray and you can sing, but keep it there. Yeah. Will you? You know, when you come out here, that's for that space. And that's like the privatization of religion. I mean, it's something that, it is built in a way into our society, like the separation of church and state, if you will, even though that's actually got reverse connotations nowadays, but that's a different story. But yeah, so we're sort of conditioned socially not to connect the dots. It's a challenge to you. But I think, like when you're talking earlier about the disciples and how Jesus will give them opportunities to act upon what they believe, this is what gets interesting, because like maybe you have been a Christian your whole life, or, you know, for a long time. And some of these things are sort of like background. I don't know. You're so used to them, you don't see them. But like, okay, for instance, in the scriptures, you know, if you're a Christian, you're going to confess that you believe there's an evil force animating in the world. And so like your enemies, like the people who you have, you know, beef with, the person at work who comes over and they just bug the crap out of you, you know, or they're always on your case, and it's like, oh, they get under your skin. It's because of what you believe. You're actually going to treat that person very differently than someone who does not believe what you believe. If you believe it. That sounded like a tongue twister a little bit. But so, like, because you believe there's this evil force underneath in operation that's actually captivated, you know, humanity, you're going to see that person differently. And instead of saying, oh, that person's such a jerk, you're going to say, man, there's clearly something going on, you know, like in their life, in their existence, that is, you know, it's bringing out that evilness that I confess I even have. Yeah. I can relate to how you're treating me, because I've treated other people like that. Thank God I know Jesus, and he's forgiven me, and he's freeing me from those behaviors, because that's not good for me. It's kind of like the Phoebe question, right? Like, that's the kind of stuff we don't want other people to experience. And it's not hell, but it's headed in that direction. So like, this isn't at church when you're thinking this way, right?
Yeah.
Christian, right? You're at work and this is happening, but instead of fighting evil with evil or retaliating, you're going to be above board. You're going to treat with respect this person, especially if they're your overseer, right? And to your coworkers, if they're not Christian, they're going to be boggled by this because they're going to say, "What on earth are you? I can't believe you put up with that." Now maybe there comes a time where it's important. It gets complicated in work scenarios, but to like honestly and not with like poison in your lips share, that really is, that's really difficult for me when you treat me like that, like to take your whomever aside and have an honest conversation with them, right? And share that. Like being a Christian doesn't mean never pointing out something that's not good. But like all of this is just very different than if you're like, well, I believe this when I'm in this other space, but as soon as I come over here, none of that applies. Mm-hmm. Right? So yeah, like that when I hear you talking about, so like the disciples, when Jesus takes them over to the Gennesarenes or however it's pronounced, they're in like Gentile territory. They're in an uncomfortable place. And Jesus is saying, no, like I want you to come with me here. Mm-hmm. And I am going to come and I'm even going to treat with kindness and respect this crazy man, mm-hmm. Who's naked and cutting himself. Bizarre story in Mark, I think. And so like likewise, I mean, probably not necessarily dealing with, men breaking chains and lacerating themselves, but like we're going to be put in situations where it's uncomfortable, but because of what we believe, it's going to change the way we live. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's sort of that's me constructing a hypothetical situation in that transformative idea. But yeah, good. I agree with you, man. Like for me too, it took a long time to connect those dots. And there were certainly spaces where I was far less comfortable owning. I thought about this the other day. Like if you're friends with someone, here's a sign that you might be friends with somebody. You're willing to be embarrassed on their behalf. Like if you're friends with somebody and they do something that, other people are laughing at, like if they're your friend, like truly, you'd be like, you go stand with them. Yeah. You'll join them. This is Adam Sandler peeing his pants. Right? Because he was being a friend to the kid who had actually wet his pants. Okay, so
that's from the movie Billy Madison, by the way, but go on.
Yeah, if you have questions, talk to the office manager, Carrie Rich. She knows lots of movies and will help you. But I was thinking about that because like, especially when I was a younger man, like when I was in high school, I was not on that, when you talk about following Jesus, that close relational level. There were circles in my life where if someone was going to, make fun of Jesus, I don't know that I would have walked over and stood with him. You know what I mean? Like I would have been afraid to. And as I've grown and as I've come to know Jesus better too, it's like, you think of all the ways that he has stood by you, or stood by me in all of my embarrassing things. Man, it's just like, yeah, I can't believe you stand with me, buddy. Like I want to stand with you. Yeah. So yeah, but those dots start to get connected. Yeah.
And so this is kind of the call then to us as we think about Jesus. Just imagine Jesus has called out to you, follow me, right? Follow me. So that, and at this point, you don't have to, like those fishermen, leave your place of occupation to physically follow him. Right. What if it means actually to follow Jesus into your place of occupation or into your home or into your neighborhood? Like imagine, visualize Jesus leading you everywhere that you go. All right. So Jesus, this is kind of the biblical picture too. He's already before you wherever you go. This is true. This is not a hypothetical. He's already before you everywhere that you go, and he's saying to you, follow me here, follow me here, follow me here. Okay. And then what does Jesus do when he shows up? Jesus is always breaking in and bringing the kingdom of God and the light of the light of the world into the world to shine light into the darkness. Right. So you go then as the light of the world, following Jesus, reflecting him into these places. So I just think that's a visually helpful thing. Just everywhere. So they're everywhere.
I just imagine Jesus pulling back my wheelie chair at my old logistics job, and saying like, "Hey, time to get started, buddy."
Yeah,
that's very different than how I approached a lot of Monday mornings.
Yeah. Well, I think
it's
just animating, like a totally. That is what is transformative, right? You're not in this alone for yourself. You are in this journey that Jesus has put you on. Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, dude.
Well, hey, we got one more week.
Oh, did we haven't even.
We should
announce that. Yeah.
We should tell the people. They gotta know. They're gonna know.
Only the people that have made it. This might be a record long episode already.
It's worth it. We're soaking up our time. It's short.
So here's the deal. I'm gonna go on a 3-month sabbatical. So for some time of rest and rejuvenation with my family, in May, June, and July of 2024. That's the year that we are in.
Year of our Lord.
If you listen to this, years from now, which is, hey, if you do, cool. But so during that time, Pastor Kevin's going to have a variety of other tasks and things to handle and take care of. And so we're going to just take a little break from the podcast for the summer months here. And, we are, I think this is episode 169.
Ooh,
170. Needless to say, we're at about 100. It's either 170 or 171 episodes by the time that we take a little pause here. So if you've never listened all the way through, go back to the beginning. See how this thing has started.
Yeah.
You can barely see us and barely hear us.
It's like a silent movie. It's in black and white. There's subtitles. It's a really horrible podcast.
Somebody was telling me that they...
I know Trish Brewer has been going back through. Was it?
It was her and her husband.
Yes.
And they were in the early days, and they were thinking like they were going to buy us some microphones or something. And then
it happened. You guys got to live in the story.
Oh, okay. Phew. It gets better.
But yeah, there are lots of all sorts of topics.
Tons. Yeah. So go back through and listen or whatever, or do what we say is the point of this podcast, and spend your weeks instead of just absorbing things we're saying. Maybe try to start a weekly conversation with somebody else about Jesus. Well, maybe that'd be fun.
I love it.
So, with that said, let's wrap this one up for today.
Sounds good, buddy.
All right, peace.